Welcome to AI GovCast. I'm Ross John Fortuna. The Marine Corps last month announced the inaugural U.S. Marine Corps Naval Postgraduate School Artificial Intelligence Fellowship. This program, according to my guest today, is designed to accelerate AI adoption and development across the force by building AI-literate Marines empowered with technical knowledge, experience, and insight. Dr. Christopher Paul is the Marine Corps Chair for Information at the aforementioned Naval Postgraduate School. He joins me now to talk about the fellowship and building AI literacy at the Marines. Welcome to the program.
Yeah, thanks, Ross. Thanks for having me.
So I want to talk about accelerating AI adoption and development across the force. How does this differ from the other kind of military AI initiatives and programs, and what specific gaps in AI expertise are around in the Marines?
Sure. So this doesn't differ from one particular program because it's actually modeled after a specific program. So the Air Force has a partnership and an AI accelerator at MIT in Boston. And in fact, this program was spawned by a conversation with the Marine Corps Service Data Officer, Dr. Colin Crosby, and some of his team, because the Air Force gives the Marines 2 seats in the Air Force's Phantom program at MIT. And they were talking about, hey, how can we increase throughput? Is there some way that someone else could do some program like the Phantom program? And as part of that conversation, I said, maybe we can do something like that at NPS. So I started talking with colleagues and got a lot of positive feedback and went back to the service data office and said, I think we can do something like what the Air Force is doing with MIT. And in fact, we might even be able to do it with the same applications. So you've put out a MAR admin announcing the availability of the Phantom Fellowship and solicited applications, but you're only going to take 2 of those applicants for MIT. Let us look at the rest of the applications and where we find a good fit between the Marines that are applying and the available expertise and mentorship pool here at NPS will offer second chance fellowships to those Marines. And so that's what we did. We ended up offering fellowships to five Marines. And right now we're in the middle of this inaugural fellowship period.
You talked about the expertise that you have at NPS. What does the immersion in AI and the curriculum look like for these fellows?
So they're not actually doing formal curricula, but we have interdepartmental team offering mentorship. So there's relevant expertise in our computer science department, of course, with its attendant moves, which is modeling and simulation and virtual environments institute. There's also the information sciences department, which has faculty with expertise relevant to AI. And there's also our operations research department, where a number of different faculty use machine learning techniques to support optimization and other kinds of things. And in fact, with our pool of 5 fellows, we have faculty mentorship teams from all 3 departments. And so it really runs the gamut, the kinds of capabilities here. We have folks who do hardcore training models and doing the neural networks, folks who just leverage existing AI capabilities, folks who use AI for modeling and simulation versus folks who do large language models, other kinds of applications and optimizations. And in fairness, I can probably not do full justice to the kinds of capabilities they bring, as I personally am more of an AI novice. That's not my background, but it's an area where I've been forced to learn quickly to help keep up with the students and the fellows and their requirements. So if you want me to say a little bit about the fellowship itself, again, it's not a formal curricula, but it's a 5-month program. But the students or the fellows, excuse me, are only here in residence for 3 weeks, a week at the beginning, a week in the middle, and then a week at the end. And the rest of the time they're working remotely with each other and with their faculty mentors and with any students who are interested in and available to support their projects to get the work done. And they all applied with a command approved use case. So there is some problem that they found or they recognized in their command that they were able to go to their commander and say, hey, sir or ma'am, we have this problem. Here is, and initially they were proposing this for the Phantom Fellowship program. Here is an opportunity for me to go and pair up with some experts and get to work on this problem and solve our use case if you are willing to pay to send me to MIT or Monterey for 3 weeks and give up most of my time for 5 months to work on this problem. And so all of them brought those command approved use cases, and that's what they're working on.
Can you give me any examples of what these use cases are and what the AI solutions would be that would impact the Marines?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's some really interesting things. So one of our fellows is Corporal Joe Sadler, who's down at Camp Pendleton in a battalion maintenance facility, and he hopes to build uh, a, a tool that's large language model based that has an agentic shell that helps with the paperwork surrounding maintenance activities. So when they do maintenance on, say, a vehicle or on a piece of communications gear, they spend a certain amount of time actually doing the maintenance, but then the rest of the time kind of making sure they've done it right and going through all the relevant Marine Corps orders and all the maintenance references. And so his vision is to create a large language model based on all the different orders and maintenance references for the relevant maintenance work, and have the ability to rag in new documents as they become available or are published. So to shorten that paperwork timeline and to increase the comprehensiveness. So it isn't just a junior Marine kind of thumbing through big giant binders trying to find all the different references, that it's carefully cross-indexed and references, and it gets all the materials. That's one example. Another example, Captain Steven Steckler, who's now at the Marine Corps Operational Test and Evaluation Activity. Basically, they get all kinds of new gear and prototype gear, and they have to do a bunch of different red teaming and penetration testing of the circuits and the onboard computer apparatus in that gear. And there's a whole bunch of things that they have to do that are kind of known exploits or vulnerabilities that I have to ping that with. And then with any time that's left over, they think of creative ways to attack or possibly penetrate the gear so that those vulnerabilities can be patched or closed or avoided before the gear is fielded. And again, a lot of that is kind of standardized NUG work, a whole set of different things they have to check out on it. So his vision is to build a tool that's going to automate a bunch of that process. So that even if the total timeline available to red team a piece of gear is about the same, that a bunch of the NUG work will be automated and run in an automated fashion, leaving them more time to get creative and try to poke holes in it. So that's just a couple of examples of the projects of the 5 fellows.
I know the goal always is to, not the goal, but AI is often best used in tedium, and some of these things can be, especially the big things in the security spaces that you just can't be, as you mentioned, looking through notebooks and logs and stuff to find a needle in a haystack or whatever. The AI seems to be the best about that kind of thing. I know there's some talk about what this looks like. You mentioned Dr. Crosby and Air Force. Other branches are these bringing in? What is NPS looking at as far as expanding it to potentially bring in other service members?
Sure, right. So here at the Naval Postgraduate School, our primary stakeholder audiences are the naval services, the Navy and the Marine Corps. And initially, this pilot program is focused for the Marine Corps, but with our broader naval branding. In fact, I'm already having conversations with my Navy counterpart, Captain Mike Owen, who's the Navy's Information Warfare Chair here at Naval Postgraduate School, about which elements in the Navy might like to participate in a similar program. And we may well combine it all into one broader naval fellowship. We're also working on some kind of branding other than just Marine Corps Naval Postgraduate School AI Fellowship. The Air Force's program is called the Phantom Program. So we're working on some kind of catchy title or mascot or logo to discriminate the fellowship. But we haven't gotten there yet. Want to be judicious and make sure we're not violating anyone's copyright. I did offer the fellows an opportunity to suggest names, but I also made it a clear caveat that those would be subject to review by legal and public affairs and by key stakeholders. So we're not going to end up with Bodie McBoat Fellowship.
Yeah, you
So
certainly You don't want to get with the reserves or something and take away their T-Rex name or anything like that.
Just so.
I want to get back to a little bit to the fellowship and the notion of what's missing essentially with the Marines readiness, excuse me, when it comes to AI. Like where are those gaps? What are those challenges that you see?
It's still fairly nascent space across the Marine Corps. So the Marine Corps has new digital transformation teams. So there's as is often the case in the Marine Corps, something is missing for a while, then some senior Marines will recognize that, oh, we have a gap, and then the Marine Corps, the floodgates will open and come charging ahead. And so I expect that this is the beginning of the floodgates opening. There's recognition of the challenge, there's attention to it, there's a new uh, Marine Corps artificial intelligence implementation plan that calls for establishments of centers of excellence, calls for uh, something that is met by the establishment of the digital transformation team. So this is just another piece in that broader effort, recognizing that we need to be doing more of this. This is a nice blend of bottom up and top down. You know, the initiative shown by Marines being able to apply for this fellowship program with a problem that they and their command have recognized. So it's fleet driven problems, and then matching that with expertise and capability here at NPS, faculty, mentors, like, oh, I know how one would go about building a tool like that. Let us help you do that. And let's try to get some of those solutions out in the fleet. And when we're done, hopefully at the end of the 5-month fellowship period, Marines will have a prototype solution to carry back to their command. Maybe it'll require some further refinement, but they'll also have some skills that they didn't know. Sure, they'd already taught themselves some coding or some machine learning or some AI application, but their faculty mentors will have given them some things to read, maybe some courses to watch online, or some lectures to jump in during those faculty members' regular courses. So they're going to increase their skill, they're going to increase their experience so that they could help do something like this in the future, and they're going to have built something that's at least the beginnings of a solution to a problem.
Before I let you go, I want to ask you about your own sort of journey in this because you mentioned that you're sort of in process on learning some of this AI stuff. But what does that look like, and how do you see it sort of shaping the future in your job and in the Marines?
Yeah, so I'm the Marine Corps Chair for Information here at Naval Postgraduate School, and I've been in that role for just over 2 years. And information in the English language is a really broad tent, and information in the Marine Corps as a warfighting function and with a deputy commandant for information is also a really broad tent. So there are certain parts of the deputy commandant for information portfolio that I'm particularly strong in. Doctrine, integrating information, the influence part of information. I know a fair amount about the intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance part of information. A little bit about the cyber part, a little bit about the spectrum part, less about the communications, the C4 part, and less about the AI part. But for the last year, I've been leaning in pretty heavily on the AI part. I have a PhD. I'm actually a sociologist, but when I talk to folks about what the purpose of graduate education is, it's one part learning a specific field and the specialist knowledge in that field, and it's one part learning to teach yourself things. So I know how to read a book and draw out the materials. I've been reading some of the foundational stuff on the history of AI and been thinking a lot about its future application. I think its future application is very important, especially just in the human machine teaming, in the getting the most out of the manpower, but also in the human machine teaming in the battle space. The future fight is an information the fight for and the fight with information, especially when you think in the Marine Corps. Central concept of the Marine Corps stand-in forces, the idea of having Marines and their equipment and their AI partners inside the enemy weapons engagement zone available to help close complex kill webs while avoiding having complex kill webs closed on them. And in that part of the fight, huge role for AI. The synthesis of data from different sensors, in a contested communications environment, the routing of the few necessary bits of information through a complex communications network that is partly contested to get those fragments together to create a kill web to allow the direction of clear fire. So I think there's a huge role for AI in that. And then on the weapon systems end as well, and the movement from remotely piled vehicles to fully autonomous vehicles, or to a single human pilot in one platform with a bunch of robotic wingmen. These are all the kinds of things that are regular parts of the conversation and discussion here at Naval Postgraduate School, and are going to be part of the future for AI for the Marine Corps and for the naval services more broadly.
I imagine, yeah, the science fiction becomes reality pretty quickly with this stuff. But to that end, I guess I'll bring it back to the notion of the fellowship and sort of going forward. You said we've got this 5-month period. Is it going to keep going and expansion, contraction? How do you see the future of the fellowship?
So my hope is that this pilot fellowship will be successful. And here just a month into it, I'm optimistic. We had the fellows come out for their initial fellowship period. We had a bunch of really positive engagement, got their accounts set up, got their connection to the NPS high performance computing assets, had good in-person handshake connections with all the faculty mentors. I anticipate that we're going to continue and on a cycle similar to what the Air Force does with MIT, two fellowship cycles a year. We're in discussions as to whether we're going to match up with their cycle timeline exactly, or we're going to have a slightly different cyclical timeline. But the hope is, whether they line up exactly or not, to continue with the same application period. So there'll be one MAR admin announcement that goes out and announces applications for these fellowships are now open. The fellowship application lets you check all that you wish to apply for. Do you want to be considered for one of the two fellowships or both, as was the case here? And our hope is that will be an option, and that most applicants will want to be considered for both. And yeah, in the next cycle, it'll probably be just a Marine MAR admin, but in subsequent cycles, we may open it up to more services, or we'll have to see if we need to have a separate application process for multiple services. But hopefully we can continue to grow the program. Again, the key constraint being the importance of the match between what the fellow wants to do and the existing expertise available here at NPS, and the willingness of faculty to support as mentors.
How has that been with the faculty? I'm sure plenty of people are enthusiastic, but people are busy.
People are busy. I was really pleased with the level of engagement. When we initially had this conversation and I said, send us the applicants, I was talking about a number. I was saying, maybe we'll take between 0 and 2 fellows, because I can't guarantee that we'll have a match with the applicant pool, because I haven't seen it. So I don't want to promise something that if there's no matches, maybe we won't watch a pilot this time. And 2 sounds like a nice number, but given the robust faculty support, we ended up taking 5 fellows, because I didn't want to say no to faculty here that were excited to do this and had a good match. I'm like, oh, okay, we have applicants. If they're still willing to come here rather than to Boston, then let's do it. And so I hope for similar robust engagement in future cycles.
Yeah, it sounds like it's really ramping up, and things are hopefully will move within that, and have the same kind of success that they see in Boston with the Air Force. Dr. Paul, thanks so much for joining me.
Oh, yeah, happy to. I'm excited about this fellowship program, and as you say, the kinds of opportunities to increase efficiency, reduce tedium, increase efficiency both in terms of time and in terms of precision using different kinds of AI supporting tools is a great opportunity for the force. So I'm glad to be in a position where I can help enable that. Thanks for your time today.